Hello, friends. We are going to read Sir Hans Sloane. And you can see here, I have written down that it is a 3.8 accelerated reader, and its number is 912736. So when we are done reading it, you can take the accelerated reader quiz. All right. I also want to point out that this is the blue group. So those of you doing second grade blue group, this is your read for this week. Sir Hans Sloane by Davis Lehan. All right, here goes nothing. The early years. So, friends, what do you think you're going to find in this section? Well, you're going to find out about the early years of Sir Hans Sloane. So here we go. Sir Hans Sloane was a curious person. He liked to collect many things. He collected plants, animals, coins, and other souvenirs. He also collected books, insects, paintings, and rocks. He became a famous doctor, scientist, and collector. His collections grew so large that they were used to start 2 museums. That's a lot of stuff. Sloane was born in Ireland in 1660. As a child, he was amazed by nature. He spent hours outside. He loved to study plants and he wanted to know how plants could help sick people get better. He noticed that some people used special plants when they were sick. He wondered what other plants might help sick people become well. Now, when you're thinking about that year, 1660, wow, that is a long time ago. And isn't it funny when you do something that is just unforgettable, like this gentleman did? You live on in history. Your people are always talking about you forever. So it's a good thing to keep in mind when you're young. In 1679, Sloane moved to London, and he was still interested in science and plants. He studied chemistry and botany to learn more. He also became friends with 2 famous scientists. He wanted to learn as much as he could. In 1683, he went to France to study medicine as well as botany. He continued to learn as much as he could about science. He also continued to meet many famous scientists. Now, some of you are probably wondering what the word botany is. And if you use your context clues, the words around it, and previous pages, I think you'd find that botany has something to do with plants. So, he's learning about medicine, science, botany. He's taking plants and creating medicines, maybe. Sloane was interested in many different subjects. He liked to study chemistry to learn about everything that we see, taste, touch, or feel. And remember, chemistry is when you mix things to see how they react together. He also studied anatomy to learn about the parts of the body. So anatomy must be parts of the body. Finally, he became a doctor. He worked as a botanist, a doctor, and a scientist, and he continued to learn new things. Ooh, look, a new subheading. A trip to Jamaica. In 1867, Sloane sailed to Jamaica to work as a doctor. The voyage lasted 3 months. Can you imagine being on a ship for 3 months? And it's not a cruise ship. Sloane took many notes about what he saw during his trip. He wrote about the strange lights he saw in the water. He also wrote about the habits of seabirds that flew around the ship. Sloane spent more than a year in Jamaica, and he studied the plants that grew on the island. He took more notes on what he saw. In his notes, he explained how people use the plants. He removed some plants from the ground for his collection, and he drew exact pictures of the other plants in his notebook. Picture. Interesting. Milk chocolate. I want to know more about that. Sloane studied the animals that lived in Jamaica too. He wrote about how they lived and what they ate and even how they growled. His notes filled many books. Sloane studied other things too. He studied the weather, earthquakes, and rocks. Sloane also studied the way people lived in Jamaica. He made notes about these customs in his notebook. People in Jamaica liked a drink made from the cocoa plant. Sloane tried the drink, and at first he didn't like it. But when he added milk, he thought it tasted better. By mixing the cocoa and the milk, he created chocolate. He took his recipe for chocolate back home with him, and later, chocolate with his name on it was sold in England. And you notice that Cadbury is very popular. During Easter time, you hear a lot about the Cadbury eggs. And so apparently it dates clear back to the 68? 1687. Ooh, that goes way off. Returning to England, that is our next subheading. So what happens when he gets back home? Sloane returned to England in 1688 and he took many artifacts from Jamaica with him. He brought back books with plants pressed inside them. This kept them safe so that they could study them at home. He also brought many animals back with him. I do not want to know how he did that. In 1696, Sloane's notes from Jamaica were published. His book was very popular. Sloane became famous. Many important people asked him to become their doctor, including the King and Queen of England. Sloane began to collect plants and artifacts other people had discovered. His collection began to grow, and many people visited his home to see it. The halls and rooms of his house were filled with plants, animals, rocks, and coins. Sloane bought the house next door so that he would have more room for his collection. He hired someone to guard the collection and keep it safe. Many people tried to sell him their collections. In 1726, Benjamin Franklin traveled from America to England. He visited Sloane in London and sold him a purse. Sloane wanted everyone to enjoy all the objects he collected, so he asked that the objects stay together in London after his death. Sloane died in 1753 at the age of 92. 2 museums. That's our heading. What are we going to read about? The 2 museums. The government of England bought Sloane's collection, and when they saw how many things he had, they realized that they had to build 2 museums to hold all of them. The British Museum holds the books Sloane collected, and the Natural History Museum contains his plants and other artifacts. Today, millions of people visit these 2 museums. They are 2 of the best-known museums in the world. Sloane would be very happy to know that his work is still being shared. All right, and for an activity, maybe you could go back through and listen again for what might be fact in the story and what might be opinion, because that's our focus this week. All right, grab your paper and get to work.